Hello, and welcome back to the Back to Business podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Annis, and today I am really excited. I'm joined by Roman Golshteyn, who is the president of the Computer Guy LLC, located here in the Metro Detroit area. Roman, how are we doing today?
Amazing, doing good. How about you?
Good. I'm so happy to hear it. I am doing well. Woke up a little cold this morning. It's getting chilly here in Detroit. But can't complain. We haven't had the snow yet, so that's good. Always a good thing.
Right.
And it's nice and early. Have you got?
Yeah, for sure. The positive side of it getting cooler is that the colors are on their way. So.
Yes, this is very true. I do love the seasons. I have always said I grew up in Ohio. I've been here for like 5 years, and I just love Michigan. I think it's beautiful. So, and tragically, everything going on in Florida, luckily we don't have to deal with anything like that, but, so sad what happens in other places. So we're fortunate to be in the Midwest, I would say, even with the cold temperatures here and there. Did you get some morning coffee, some morning tea?
I got my tea right here. So, I'm all
nice.
Caffeinated and ready to rock. How about you?
Always a tea guy? Is that your drink of choice in the morning?
No, I'm actually in the process of moving. And so my coffee machine is in the other house. So I only have coffee. I only have tea. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Yeah. The troubles of moving, it's truly, it's always worthwhile for the most part, but a real pain. How long until you're settled, are you thinking?
Hopefully within the next few weeks. I'm getting married this Sunday, so it's like super hectic. Waiting to to be done with that, and then gonna be full steam ahead in finishing the move.
Oh, beautiful! Well, congratulations, and thank you so much for squeezing in this podcast the week of your wedding.
Thank you. No problem at all. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I have. You are a man with much knowledge in the IT space. I should explain that the Computer Guy LLC is a managed IT service provider. So I know that you work with many small businesses, small to mid-size in the Metro Detroit area. So I really wanted to start at the beginning and better understand how you even got into the IT space.
That's a great question. So it's a long story, but I'll condense it in 20 seconds or so. So I started the company back in 2005. Before that, I was working for a local law firm in their IT department. I was there for 4 or 5 years. Left that because I realized the corporate America is not really for me. And at the age of 22, I started my own business. And the go-to-market strategy at that time was going to people's homes and being able to fix majority of their problems at their home. So they don't have to take the computer apart, take it to the computer shop, leave it there for a week or two, then bring it back, hopefully, get under the table, hopefully connect it properly. Anyway, so that was the go-to-market strategy at that time. Fast forward to today, we don't do any residential work at all, and we're fully focused on small to medium-sized businesses.
Okay, awesome. So when you started this off, was it just you and someone would call you? I imagine friends and family at first and say, "Hey, I got a problem. Can you stop over?" Was it as simple as that?
So no, unfortunately not. I was hoping it would be but it wasn't. Friends and family still called, but they wanted the friends and family discount also.
Of course.
So I had to draw a line in the sand and say, "Listen, you guys, I appreciate it, but I'm doing this for work now. Just like you expect to get paid when you go to the job, I expect to get." So it was a very challenging thing for me to say at the beginning. When I started the company, I had no computers to fix. And the work really, in my mind, was hey, I need to be at an appointment fixing computer or doing whatever I had to do to get to an appointment to fix computer. So because I didn't have the appointments, what I did was I printed out these flyers, and I just hit the road. Was going from shop to shop, bulletin boards, whatever different places, and trying to distribute my cards.
Okay, so lots of marketing, just knocking on different people's doors, passing out flyers, trying to get the computer guy. Was it the computer guy from the beginning? Was that the name, or was there like a working title to start with?
No, it was the computer guy. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, it's kind of like it does not reflect to what we do today. We have ladies working for us, and we don't really work like we're not a computer repair shop. So we are going through a rebranding phase at the moment. But back when I started the company, I was thinking like, hey, what would be the easiest thing for people to remember me? And I'm like, oh, the computer guy, right? You have the TV guy, the electrician, the plumber, computer guy. So that's kind of how the name uh, came up.
I like it, keep it simple. Hey, let me call that computer guy and get some some IT help. So I'm sure that did help people remember you at the beginning. And now it's the computer guy, the computer ladies, mixed office, which is great. Um,
100%.
so I know you got into a little bit about how you started your company. So it started passing out flyers, just trying to find people who are really in need of this type of work. And I can only imagine that that's just boomed over, the last couple of years. IT is such a hot topic always. But what were the most difficult aspects of starting the business?
Yeah, so awesome question. So finding work was very, very challenging. I was a 22-year-old kid, um, didn't really know anybody, and it really took a while to take off. If I was starting today, I would not be able to do it. It took a long time before I started making any money. But as we as I grew, as I got more clients, so on and so forth, at different stages, at different growth stages, there were different issues and different challenges to overcome.
Right. That makes sense. I'm sure, especially going from working at somebody's house to, having employees and working with businesses, I can only imagine that there are so many different hurdles that start to come up. And at one point, the hardest thing being finding clients. Now I'm sure there's many other things that have come up and you're like, wow, that was actually not so bad. Now that I'm dealing with these other things that I have to juggle all day long.
Right.
So I think I want to go back to one, you started as a young individual, 22 years old. When I started off in the job and, out of college and working, I found it difficult to gain respect from people who are older than me. And I feel like that's a tough hurdle that a lot of young people have to go through, especially you starting your own business and wanting people to trust you and know that their IT issues are in your hands and you're capable. Any advice for someone starting off young, wanting to start their own business, and just overcoming that hurdle of who's this young guy? How's he going to help me? Why should I trust him, kind of thing?
Yeah, awesome question. I think perseverance is key. There's always going to be people that doubt you. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always. My family, they would support me, you know, one day, and then another day they would support me trying to convince me to go look for a job, so which was not aligning with my personal values and goals at the moment. I would say don't listen. If you believe, right, like if you think that if what you do has a value in the marketplace and you strongly believe that, um, don't listen to the naysayers, right? I think I think mentorship is huge, right? So identifying other leaders within the industry that potentially an aspiring entrepreneur is trying to get into, getting their advice and their coaching. I think that's huge. That has really been important to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a good piece of advice. And it's so important. I know that sometimes pride and, just feeling like you have all the answers, especially when you're young, can get in the way of that. So I'm really happy that you said that, because finding a mentor, and then hopefully one day becoming a mentor to someone else who's, a mentee who's trying to do what you were doing back in the day. I think that's a beautiful thing. Were you lucky enough to have someone who could be a little bit of a guiding light, guiding force in your life when you were going through these new business struggles?
Yeah, I for sure. I feel like, it takes, the whole phrase, like it takes a village to
Yes.
raise somebody, right? So I was very fortunate in developing relationships with people that became mentors. Now it's I think it's important to mention that everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody's going to have an advice. So you got to be able to discern, is this a person that you really want to listen to, or is this not, or maybe something else, or maybe it is the person that you do want to listen to in certain aspects, but maybe not some other aspects and such. I think that to me it was always like, if you've done it, if you can speak, from personal experience, if you can an experience share with me, then I would listen. I would be more open, even though internally I was like really fighting it and I would disagree. Um, I had to remind myself that it's natural for me to disagree because I've never done it. I've never done it. I don't know what I'm doing. And this person that has done it is telling me how. So it's natural for me to disagree with that advice. Uh, so I just had to work on the mindset. And it sounds really easy, and it's really, really, really difficult, especially when you're in the weeds. So some of the things that I've done and still do, read different books, right? Books on positive thinking, books on entrepreneurship and business. And just try to like program my brain with positive things, and so yeah.
I love that. Always improving. It sounds like constant improvement is something that you focus on, which I think is great. And I'm happy again that you said that, because I hope that all business owners are doing that, and just people in general. I think improving on yourself and learning how to take any kind of feedback or advice from somebody and not get defensive or react in a non-positive way, but rather think, well, maybe they do know what they're talking about. Maybe I should take that into consideration and put that into action and see how that works for my business and what I'm doing. So I'm happy you brought that up. Part of growing a business and branching out and, working with small to mid-sized businesses like you have is growing a team, knowing that it can't only be you, but having reliable team members to delegate work to. So at what point did you start hiring employees, and how, what kind of advice do you have for anybody who's starting a business, how to, assemble a quality team?
Awesome question. So I do want to mention to your listeners, just for context. So our team, we have 14 people. So we are a little, we're fairly small, but the vision is for us to grow significantly larger. Anyway, so in the beginning, I just didn't have enough business to hire somebody. So I was always mindful of that, right? I don't want to hire somebody and then not be able to pay them. So at first it was contract work. I would find different contractors. I would develop relationships with them. And then I had to kind of, when I was, it's the work still wasn't necessarily consistent, but then I had to bite the bullet and hire one person. The person didn't work out. I think a year, 6 months to a year, they left, which is normal. And they hired somebody else. That didn't work out, and I was just, it was really taking a big toll on me and my time to be training somebody. So in 2019, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire 2 people. In case one of them leaves, the other person that stays is going to help me training the next person that I hire. So when I started hiring people, I feel like, I mean, I was still very much in the weeds of the business, not really focusing on growing the business, but really working in it. So, but my position changed slightly, right? I really needed to focus more on bringing in more business for the team to be able to work and process. Now that we have 14 people, the mindset shifted again. So it's not necessarily just hiring and training people, but it's really developing leaders within the company, giving people the opportunity, identifying people who want to grow, because not everybody's going to want to grow, and that's totally normal, right? Like that was another hard pill for me to swallow, that just because I'm driven and I want to personally grow and I want to do all these different things does not necessarily mean that every single person on my team is going to want to do the same thing, and that's totally okay. However, there are some people that may, and being able to identify who those people are and creating an opportunity for them to grow within the company, but also be there to mentor them. Just, I've gone through this path that they're going through. So, I mean, so I don't want to necessarily tell them how to do it, but I want to coach them and lead them in a way that kind of like put guardrails around them so that they don't fail, but at the same time maybe allow them to fail a little bit. And again, like I'm sharing this with you after the path that I've gone. Like I was not always like that. I mean, I had to learn, I had to grow myself to be able to come to this mindset. I don't have any kids at the moment, but I'm assuming it's kind of similar to raising kids. Help them grow, coach them, give them guidance. If they want to go astray, give them the opportunity to do that, but then kind of lead them back. So yeah.
Right.
So it keeps changing. It keeps changing. At different growth stages of the company, things just change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good analogy. I'm sure that having employees, having a team is very much like raising children, keeping an eye on the family. And after all of this time together, I'm sure it feels like a family sometimes or most of the time, with the people who have been working with you, and trying to find that balance between, I want you to be independent, but I also want you to, I think you learn a lot from failure when you're learning new jobs or taking on new roles or whatever. So, wanting the best for them, but also, okay, maybe if you take this little turn in the road and it doesn't go well, we'll talk about it and we'll find a better way the next time around. So I think that's great. And it sounds like you've really been through, from being on your own to hiring people, though them not working out, then I need to have two people on the team. That way I've always got, somebody here in case the other person leaves, because that's just the reality of running a business, right? Like people, there's always going to be turnover. There's always going to be things that shake up and things happen. And so it sounds like you found a good way to be prepared, which is great.
We're not where we want to be, but we're striving, creating systems, putting systems in place, creating documentation, creating proper training, learning how to identify who is the right employee for you. I mean, we're still not 100% there. I mean, it's challenging. I mean, I don't want your listeners to think that I'm sitting here coming with all the answers. I mean, I'm in the grind, on growing the business. So like I'm learning every day, failing forward, right? Is huge.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect at everything that you do, but what is the takeaway? What are you going to do different? Why didn't it work out as expected? Was it a person problem? Was it a process problem? Having those types
Right.
of mindsets and thinking.
Progress, not perfection. I think that's very applicable. I teach yoga once a week, and that's something that comes up in yoga practice. But I think it's very applicable to most life things. Not every pose that you do will be perfect, but as long as you're progressing through and getting better, that's what's important. And I think the same goes for running a business. So I want to transition a little bit more into the managed service aspect, and allow for some questions for business owners if, any of our listeners are looking to fill an IT managed service spot in their company. They don't have a dedicated IT person necessarily, but they're wanting to hire a company such as yours. So what should they be focusing on when they're looking to bring on maybe a managed service or maybe even hiring one person individually, but specifically what you do?
Sure. That's awesome question. So my industry is really, really wild, crazy. And let me clarify that. So, my fiance gets her nails done. So when she gets her nails done, the person that does her nails has to be a licensed nail technician, or whatever the proper terminology is. In my industry, at the moment today, nobody is required to get any sort of a license. So think about it for a second, right?
Really?
Yeah. So you potentially, that said nail technician can say, you know what? I'm done doing nails. I'm gonna open up an IT company, and if they're good at selling, like legit, right? If they're good at selling, um, they can go and they can convince somebody that they can do IT. So, which is crazy because companies today can close down. They can fail. They can close down if their data is not protected, if their IT is not properly, uh, serviced, and so on and so forth. So, I think it's really crazy. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not advocating for more government regulation. That's not what I'm saying. But
Fair, fair.
but I'm just saying, to me it's a little crazy. So then the question becomes, how do you identify who are you going to allow to work on your systems? How do you identify who is the right person or company that you will essentially open up, um, give the keys to the kingdom, the keys to the business, right? If they're going to be a
Right.
managed service provider, they're going to have access to all your data. They're going to potentially have access to all of your computers, all of your passwords, everything. And it's very, very difficult. Not all of the IT companies are created the same. We don't quote in the same way. Um, I see competing quotes, and it's very challenging sometimes to communicate to communicate to, a potential prospect, you know, how is it that TCG's quote is is comparing to another quote that they received from another IT provider, and many times IT is a topic where people just check out, right? We start talking computers, and eyes glaze over, and they just check out. So I would say that, to go back to your question, I would say, first of all, see how the person is communicating. Are they trying to talk over you with technical lingo? Or are they able to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but simplify it to a way to, that a person can understand? I think somebody really famous and smart, I think it was Albert Einstein, I think he said that, um, I think he said that anybody can take something very simple and make it complex, but a genius can take something very complex and make it very simple. So, so I would start with that. Also, my industry is kind of, fracturing, if you would say. So back in the day, I would say, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so ago, we would just be fixing computers. We were there for our clients and their teams. Today, cybersecurity is huge, because if the company is not properly protected, the company can be in business today and they can be out of business tomorrow. And I'm not, like, legit. It's, think of how, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, you have all of your files in your office, and then the office burned down. Might as well just, like, close down and go home, start another business. So that's kind of what we're seeing today. And the industry is moving very fast. Technology is moving extremely fast, and it's very, very challenging and difficult to stay on top of all the emerging threats, and being able to have the competency in protecting, um, for the IT provider, having competency for the IT provider to protect their clients. So what I mean by the industry fracturing is that there are those IT companies that all they want to do, or maybe all they have competency to do, is to fix the computer, fix the printer, Outlook is not working, whatever, just your day-to-day. So one of the ways that your listeners can identify is that when they're having this conversation with an IT provider, what is the potential IT provider, what are they talking about? Is the security coming up? How often is the security coming up? Because from a business owner's perspective, I want somebody who is going to be protecting my company. Number one. Number two, I want somebody who is going to be there for my employees to reach out to if the computer is not working. But at the end of the day, I have this golden goose that's laying golden eggs, right? That's my company, and I want to be able to protect it.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I know security is a huge buzzword. I mean, we see articles all the time about companies who had a data breach, a security breach, all of the customers' data was leaked, or credit card information, and it's terrifying as a consumer, to see those kind of stories come out. It's understandable how it happens. I mean, I feel that hackers are getting smarter and smarter with the emails that they're sending out to try to get you to click a link or enter your information or whatever the case may be. So, security is definitely something I know that our company is always concerned with and being tested on. But I'm happy that you brought that up, because that's something that I wanted to talk about too. I also think it's so interesting that IT providers they don't have to be licensed in anything. So for anybody listening, if you are looking for somebody, it sounds almost more challenging than I thought it would be to find a qualified IT managed service provider, because truly, since we're not storing files in filing cabinets anymore and that sort of thing, fires aren't the biggest concern. It's really the security. Is the information secure? If there is a breach, do you have a good team behind you who can come in and help and hopefully minimize the damage that occurs?
Or hopefully to even prevent the damage from even.
Yes. First prevent, but right, exactly. But in the event that something should come up, find someone like the Computer Guy LLC to help protect you and your customers, your employees, everybody. So I know we're getting close to kind of wrapping things up here, but I wanted to squeeze in one or two more questions. I did have a question about red flags for finding, IT managed service companies. And I think you pretty much just answered the biggest red flag there. Can you talk about a specific project where IT had a significant impact on business outcomes?
That's an awesome question. We do so many different projects for our clients. I would say that one of the most important projects that we do is we secure our clients' email accounts. There are three things that really people should be focusing on as a base. There are so many things, but like as a base, right? Having proper password hygiene, enabling multi-factor authentication on all of the accounts, and protecting the email account from business email compromise. Business email compromise simply means that if somebody gets access to your email account. So Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, they allow for advanced security configurations. So taking clients that either don't have emails on those platforms or don't have those platforms properly set up, and moving them to those platforms and then securing those platforms is a huge impact to the business.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. So 3 very easy to follow, I would say, guidelines. And I love password hygiene. There's a lot of different hygiene we think about. Password hygiene is not something that normally comes to mind. But I'm going to, put that in my toolbox and remember that and start to change my passwords more often, because I know I'm probably guilty of not the best hygiene when it comes to passwords.
So it's interesting it's interesting that you bring it up. I just want to squeeze this in.
Yeah.
So the new guideline is changing password is not necessarily as important as the other things. So for example, having a different password for every account that you have, not using patterns, not using a password that's reflecting something in real life. So just auto-generated gibberish password, right? For every single account and website and everything. And so how can you do that, right? So you need a good password manager. So and if you do that, if you have a good password manager, and if all of your passwords are unique and individual, and you don't know what they are, they're stored in password manager, then the guideline is that you don't really need to be changing passwords as often as we used to do in the past.
Got it. Well, I'm guilty of all of those things. I do, just change the numbers, add an exclamation point. My password's the same for everything. So I guess I'll have to do like the uppercase T, lowercase u, 1, 2, question mark, those fun passwords that no one likes, but it sounds like that's our best way to stay secure and hopefully minimize any IT breaches. One last question that I think that our listeners will be really interested in, because a huge buzzword aside from security is AI. I know that's come up so much, especially recently. So how do you see the future of IT evolving with emerging technologies like AI?
This question comes up a lot, and it's a very, very difficult question to answer. And if anybody tells you that they have an answer, I don't know. I question that.
Don't trust them. Red flag.
I don't necessarily say don't trust them, but I just question them. So
yeah,
when you go like to an ocean, and you're just like in the water, and the wave is coming, and you just kind of like float, and the wave comes, and you kind of go with the wave, and then you come down, right? You just kind of like let the wave happen. So that's how I'm approaching AI. AI is transformational. It's going to change it's going to touch everything, and it's going to change everything. So I am just observing, I'm reading about it, I'm learning, I'm seeing how it's evolving. I'm utilizing it in my company. I'm trying to find tools that utilize it, but it's crazy to think that it's still at the ground floor. So I don't necessarily have an answer for you, but I would just say just be prepared, and be prepared for change. It's because we're in the process of it. It's happening, and that's the best answer that I can give you regarding that.
That was great. I saved my hardest question for last, of course. So after this, no more tough questions. But I think, that's fair. Technology has evolved so much over the last couple of years, over the last decade. It's crazy how far we've come. So I guess we'll all just have to wait and see where AI takes us. But Roman, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You've had such wonderful things to say, and I think will be very, very helpful for all of our listeners. If anybody listening is looking for an IT managed service provider, Roman's company, The Computer Guy LLC, is wonderful. I've worked with them firsthand, and you would be in great hands. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, feel free to reach out, get a quote, and he's your guy. So
thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and I really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Likewise, Roman. Thanks so much, and congratulations. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.